Hi everyone, Miss Candorin here for my second mini lesson that has to do with our enrichment project. This is something else that was on the enrichment project that you could do, but I gave it a little Miss Candorin twist, of course. Our objective today is how can you help your community? What I'm going to be reading it's called Perfectly Norman. This is a fiction story. And we all know that fiction means not real or fake, exactly. And this is written by and illustrated by Tom Percival, and the publisher is Bloomsbury. And I love this story because it is a book about Norman, who he thought was normal, until he grew something out of the blue. And he thought that these wings were different and he wanted to hide them because he thought being different wasn't okay. So he wore something to cover up these wings. And at the end, though, he realized he wasn't the only one that was different. So we're going to take this idea of Norman's wings and we're going to turn that into our community little project. So at the end of our story, I'll have a question that you can answer on your own, just like you did with the last hero one. This time, I have some vocabulary, just like we do in our regular whole group instruction, and I found some words that we've already done before. So the first one we have is imagined. If you remember our motion to that, to picture or think of something in your mind. So when I come across imagined, this is the motion that we'll do. Also, we have our suffix ed. Ed is in the past, like laugh, to laugh in the past. Awesome. Our second one is nodded. To move your head up and down. We've had that word again as well. And it also has, we have our suffix ed too. And if you remember my little tricky question, we go from nod to nodded, double the D because it's a short O. Awesome. So when I come across nodded, I'm going to be shaking my head like that. Our next one uses a word that we've had before, but it adds a suffix to it. We have hesitantly. So we've had hesitant, stop and think. And then it added our suffix ly. Ly means in this way, like cheerfully, in a cheerful way. So using our suffix ly, we know hesitantly means in a hesitant way. And then I wrote stop and think because that's what hesitant means. Excuse me, let me fix my headband real quick. Our last one is a new word that I wanted to add, but I wanted to add it because it has one prefix and one suffix that we already know. This word is unbearable. It has the prefix un, and we know un means not or opposite, like unafraid, not afraid. And then it has our suffix able, which we didn't have in our chant, but it means able to. So unbearable means not able to bear or to stand it. Okay? When you're not able to bear something, you can't stand it or tolerate it, we would say. So for a motion for unbearable when I get it, I'm going to do for not able to bear it. Okay? So those are our 4 words. I'm going to put them back here. It might be a little far, but as I read our story, actually, Miss Candorin's going to put it up there for you to see. Who's ready to read our story, Perfectly Normal? Oh my goodness, look who came to join us. Hey, Bella. Hope you don't ruin anything. Here we go. Norman had always been normal, perfectly normal, until one day he grew a pair of wings. Look at his face. I wonder how he's feeling right now. Norman had imagined growing taller or growing a beard like his dad. Look, he's drawing a beard on himself. But he had never imagined growing a pair of wings. Still, they were here now, so he decided to test them out right away. Soon, Norman was swooping around and generally having the most fun ever. But then he had to go in for dinner. You see, Norman had always been so normal, he didn't know how his parents would feel about his extraordinary wings. As he went in, Norman covered himself up in a great big coat. The book said big, not me. His parents didn't notice the wings, but they did think it was odd to be wearing a coat indoors. Bath time was problematic. So was bedtime. The coat was hot and uncomfortable, but Norman had decided that no one should see his wings ever. I wonder why he didn't want anyone to see his wings. The next day, Norman went to the park, but he was far too hot to play any of his favorite games. And so it went on. Long car journeys were unbearable. The swimming pool was dreadful. And that was nothing compared to his friend's birthday party. Looks like he can't even jump in the bouncy house. The only time that Norman could feel normal now was when it rained. And you could ask, why does he feel normal when it rains? Think about what he's wearing. One day, a boy tried to pull his coat off, and Norman had to run away, hot-faced, angry, and sad. He wished he'd never grown those stupid wings. Then he saw some birds high up in the sky and remembered the joy of his first flight. It occurred to Norman that it was the coat that was making him miserable, not his wings. Why don't you take that scruffy old thing off? Suggested his mom and dad. Norman looked up at them hesitantly. Stop and think. His parents smiled and nodded. Norman smiled back. Then he threw off the coat and let his wonderful wings fan out. It seems like his feelings have changed for sure. Norman leaped into the air. Finally, he was free of that coat. He noticed a few other children wearing thick, heavy coats of their own. They looked up at Norman and around at one another nervously. There was a moment's pause, and then... Can you predict what might happen next? Look, they're all wearing coats, just like Norman was. Whoosh! The sky was filled with flying people. Norman had never felt so happy. He realized that there was no such thing as perfectly normal, but he was perfectly Norman, which was just as it should be. Wasn't that an awesome story? So here Ms. Candorin has, again, our vocabulary that we went. I'm going to take it down. And then if you were following along with the motions, great job. Let's look at the question that Ms. Candorin has for our story. If you had wings of your own, how would you use them to help your community? So I want you to think, I'm using Norman's wings, okay? And I want you to think to yourself, if you had these wings like Norman and you were able to fly, how would you use those wings to help the community where we live in Chambersburg? So Ms. Candorin has here a sentence starter for you to help you out with your answer. If I had wings like Norman, I would use them to help the community by, and then down here, you know I'm going to make you give more than one reason, of course. Give 2 to 3 ways that you could use your wings to help the community. And again, you could write this answer and then you're more than welcome to draw a picture as well. Or if you even wanted to take a video of yourself telling this answer, that's fine with me too. Just, of course, getting your brains ready and thinking as we go through this time together. Of course, Ms. Candorin misses you all. If you have any questions, don't hesitate to ask. I hope you'd enjoyed. See ya!